If you do not like someone's story, write your own. Changing Narratives with Wambui Kabage.
Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing the come we stay relationship and the relationship with mistresses. The reason I've chosen to discuss these two topics is because they remain relationships that will continue within our society. But what is important as a person who's involved in these relationships is, regardless of what decisions you make, this not being a judgment call on my part at all, please, as an adult, know what you're getting into. Understand that at the end of the day, if you are in a come we stay relationship, which means essentially you're living together and you have not solemnized your relationship in either of the 5 categories that we had discussed, that essentially you are putting yourself and children that come in harm's way. Why do I say that? I say that because under the Marriage Act, there is no category as come we stay. In other parts of the world, they have determined to acknowledge these relationships. In Australia, for example, it's called a Commonwealth relationship. And in other parts of the world, it has different names. And in each of those countries, they have decided to legally recognize these marriages or these relationships. And almost equate them to marriages. In Kenya, for those who are in those relationships, this is not the case. Okay, so as we've recognized under the Constitution that married couples have equal rights under the law, you do not have equal rights under the law. When it comes to ending a relationship such as this, remember, you cannot go for things like spousal maintenance or any kind of maintenance. You put yourself at risk regarding to property ownership and and many other situations that you put yourself at risk and in harm's way. With a come we stay relationship, please understand, people, that at the end of the day, this relationship will not be recognized by the law, and if you leave each other, that's it. That the relationship is over. The only time you have recourse to law is if you have children, and even then, that recourse relates to simply those children. Okay, so for example, you would not be recognized as having a matrimonial home. For example, there is no home. Even if you lived in that home for a certain period of time, that's not a home that this person would be recognized as having. The person would only, for example, be able to give your children certain types of a lifestyle, which would be based on, it becomes arbitrary once you're not married. Okay, so essentially he's entitled to maybe pay for rent, half rent for a certain type of property. So for example, if you're living in Runda together, it's not recognized as your matrimonial home. So the rights for you to remain in that home as a woman with your children do not exist because you're not married. So he can decide to pay for a flat in Pangani or wherever it is, whilst you were accustomed to the lifestyle of Runda, or whatever it is. So really, I think you really need to be very conscious of the kind of harm's way you're putting yourself in as a result of maintaining yourself in a come we stay relationship. The law recognizes the best interest of children regardless of whether they are married or not married. So the children in of themselves will not be deprived of some form of maintenance and some form of shelter. But you do really compromise that situation by not having your children within the realms of a marriage. As a mistress, your rights continue to dwindle. Because really at the end of the day, even determining that these children are this man's, becomes problematic. Enforcing or forcing a DNA test, is neither here nor there, because if he's already married, it may be categorized as harassment to demand a DNA test. Who is this woman, unknown woman, asking for DNA tests? Of course, the courts consider the best interest of the child, and at times there have been cases where people have been forced to do a DNA test. But really, at the end of the day, why put your children through that process? It's a struggle, it's a process. It's pain and struggle on many fronts in different areas. So really, if you are in a relationship, either in a come we stay relationship or you are a mistress of somebody, you are really putting your children in harm's way when it comes to getting them their rights and getting them their, their rights in terms of physical parentage, as well as their rights in terms of financial support. So it's really important, folks, that you understand this. Having said that, the mediatory process is a very beautiful process because it is confidential. And what it does, it allows people to come to the table in confidence and get these people to understand that it's not about the relationship, it's about the best interest of the child. And can we go beyond the fact that the relationship is not necessarily categorized as something that would be protected under law, but can we come together recognizing that children are children and they are not at fault for what has happened or what is happening. So in that respect, I would recommend strongly that people approach mediators, especially in these very sensitive and challenging relationships. I hope that has been beneficial. Like, share, and subscribe.